And welcome everyone to the 700 Club. Terror in Barcelona. Police in Spain are racing to prevent more bloodshed after terrorists drove a van into a crowd of tourists Thursday. The gory scene left at least 14 dead and 100 wounded. And 5 terrorists were shot dead today after an attack in another Spanish city. Gary Lane has details.
Islamic terrorists have struck again in the heart of Europe, not in Paris, London, Brussels, or Berlin. This time, 2 vehicle attacks in Spain. The 2 attacks came within hours of one another. The first one late Thursday afternoon in Las Ramblas, a popular tourist spot in Barcelona.
I didn't see any of the bodies or anything or the driver, but I caught it out of the corner of my eye and heard it right behind me.
Police arrested 2 men. One of them was Moroccan Driss Al-Kaber, who allegedly rented the van used in the terrorist attack. The driver of the vehicle was still at large. A second attack early Friday morning 70 miles away in Cambrils. Another pedestrian attack along a boardwalk. This time 6 people were injured before police gunned down the terrorists. All 5 of them were wearing fake suicide vests, and investigators say they were also planning some kind of gas attack. The CIA reportedly informed Spain 2 months ago that Las Ramblas was a target. The warning came after jihadists said they planned to spread terror to popular Mediterranean tourist spots. Police say the 2 incidents may have been linked to an explosion in another Spanish city on Wednesday. Spanish authorities say some of the injured in the Barcelona attack are in critical condition, so unfortunately the death toll may rise. The Islamic State has claimed responsibility for the Barcelona attack. International terrorism experts say some jihadists who joined ISIS have now been chased from Syria and Iraq, and they're returning home. And that means there may be more Barcelona-style attacks in Europe and elsewhere in the days ahead. Gary Lane, CBN News.
Thank you, Gary. And we certainly pray and hope there won't be any more attacks, but our prayers are definitely right now with Barcelona and all the victims there. Well, in other news, Confederate statues are starting to be torn down in American cities. Officials are concerned about racial tensions after what happened in Charlottesville. John Jessup has more on that story from our CBN News Bureau in Washington. John?
Thanks, Wendy. A monument of Abraham Lincoln lit on fire in Chicago, a statue of Robert E. Lee damaged at Duke University, and a magazine calling to blow up Mount Rushmore. The battle over monuments in America is heating up like never before in the wake of the race riot in Charlottesville. Heather Sells has more from Richmond, Virginia, where Confederate monuments are dividing the city.
The city of Richmond, Virginia could be considered ground zero in the national debate over Confederate statues. It's the former home, the capital of the Confederacy, and it also has 5 Confederate statues, all of which are lined up here on the famous Monument Avenue.
There was a desire to create and to make it a modern city, modeled on some European versions. They wanted a grand boulevard.
Christy Coleman heads the American Civil War Museum here and co-chairs the city commission to figure out what to do with Richmond's Confederate statues. Coleman says real estate developers created Monument Avenue in the late 1800s. Over the objections of black city council members, they erected a statue of General Robert E. Lee, hoping to lure new residents. In the process, she says, they reasserted white supremacy. Eventually, the city erected 5 Confederate statues, and the neighborhood boomed. Flash forward to 2017, and a new African-American mayor.
Not only are those statues offensive to me, they're offensive to a number of people.
Mayor Stoney took a fresh step and created the commission. Its charge: add context and historical balance to the statues. Now, after Charlottesville, he's adjusted course.
We're going to expand the conversation and put removal on the table.
After what happened in Charlottesville, the winds changed about how long are we going to deal with these images in our society that, regardless of what they initially or originally were intended to do, have become symbols of divisiveness, hatred, and white supremacy. What are we going to do with those?
There's no easy answer, and many here are wrestling with that.
This is not a monument you're going to move into a museum. It's gigantic. Theoretically, it's possible, but I think it needs to be reframed in some way.
Others, like lifelong Richmonder Pam Patram, simply want the statues to go away.
This is not my history. this is part of something that conquer and divide us. So I'm not a fan of the statues at all.
Debbie Killebrew is a fan, and she's worried.
If they start tearing it down, what's next?
On Thursday, the president tweeted his fears that the U.S. will lose its Confederate statues. On Monument Avenue, many locals and tourists rushed to take pictures, wondering what might happen. Ultimately, Mayor Stoney and the City Council will accept commission recommendations and make a decision. For now, Christy Coleman is urging calm.
What is absolutely needed is reflection. We need to breathe for a moment. We need to reflect. And we need to find spaces where we can come to reasoned conclusions about all of this, because none of it is easy.
Reporting in Richmond, Heather Sells, CBN News.
Thanks, Heather. The entire United States will go dark for a few minutes Monday for the first nationwide solar eclipse in a century. And as Paul Strand reports, the amazing phenomenon is evidence of a divine design in our universe.
Many folks believe only in what they can see. And since they can't see God from their observatories, they doubt he exists. But others watch an amazing phenomenon that occurs over Earth occasionally, a total solar eclipse like we'll see August 21st, and doubt such a thing can happen just by accident. Astronomer and minister Hugh Ross of the group Reasons to Believe finds the fit of Earth's little moon over the humongous sun during a total eclipse too exact to be mere serendipity. He sees the designing hand of God.
The sun is 400 times farther away from us than the moon. But the sun is 400 times bigger, so that's why you get a perfect solar eclipse.
On the other side, though, is astronomer Dr. Bethany Cobb Kung of Washington, D.C.'s George Washington University.
It's a big universe, and there are a lot of coincidences. So I think it's just a random happenstance.
Still, both the believer and the doubter are in awe of the coming eclipse and what they'll see.
It's going to be a spectacular event. And we got a group of about 140 people going with us to the desert of Oregon to view that eclipse.
It is a pretty astounding thing that everything lines up just right for us to have this experience.
We're going to try to get our telescopes up on top of the hill where our people will be able to watch the shadow of the sun race towards us at about 800 miles an hour.
The zone across America that will see the moon 100% block the sun is only about 100 kilometers wide. But no one should despair.
If you're not in that path to totality, there's still going to be a partial solar eclipse throughout the entire U.S. So here in Washington, D.C., for example, the sun can be about 80% blocked.
Kung's planning to set up her telescope outside on the George Washington University campus.
And just grab anybody who happens to be walking by and say, hey, you want to see a solar eclipse?
But she's warning everyone they have to wear special eclipse glasses.
The sun is so bright that you can really damage your eye. You can literally burn your retina if you look at the sun without any protection. And it's so bright that you need to block 99.99% of the light in order to look at it safely.
Pastor Ross, meanwhile, ponders just how many examples of divine, precise fine-tuning he sees from the moon to the farthest reaches of the Milky Way. Like the fact that the mass and placement of our moon and all planets, comets, and asteroids of this solar system have to be exactly like they are.
The entire solar system has been highly fine-tuned to make possible the existence of advanced life here.
The California-based astronomer points out it's like that for the entire Milky Way. Reasons to Believe has calculated the probability 854 features across the galaxy could be so exactly fine-tuned.
Without the supernatural intervention of the Creator God of the Bible to make advanced life possible here on planet Earth, and that probability we calculate must be much less than 1 chance in 10 to the 1,050th power.
That's a little hard to visualize, but it'd be like someone winning the big old California lottery 150 times in a row when they've only bought 1 ticket each time. Makes it a little hard to believe there's no fine-tuning designer behind all this. Paul Strand, CBN News, reporting from Herndon, Virginia.
Thanks, Paul. Well, Wendy, as the book of Psalms says, the heavens declare the glory of God and the skies above his handiwork.
John, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to totally quote that, but it's certainly evidence of a divine creator, and it's pretty exciting too. So I can't wait till Monday. Well, thanks, John.